In this video we are going to talk about what would happen if John Kerry was president in 2004, elected, and this is the 2006 Senate elections, the midterms, and Kerry is president. How would this affect them? As we know in our timeline, the Republicans did quite poorly in these elections and they lost 6 Senate seats. Now, this would not happen if Kerry was president. He would have to deal with a lot of the same problems as Bush, and it is unsure how well he would handle them. Because of that, Republicans would probably make gains in the Senate races, and the outcome would be very, very different. In the state of North Dakota, I think that Kent Conrad would simply resign because of the anti-democratic mood in the country, while in the state of Nebraska, I think Ben Nelson would seek re-election and narrowly win. Both of these guys won election by a quite handily margin in 2006, but yeah, it's hard to say. You really just have to take the stomach feeling. And while Republicans in our timeline lost in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Virginia, Missouri, Rhode Island, and Montana, I think all of them would stay Republican this time. Even Rick Santorum and Mike DeWine, who lost by very big margins, as they would not struggle with an unpopular Republican president, but possibly an unpopular Democratic president. Vice versa, in 2010, I'm actually going to do this one as well as the next two. John McCain is the president. He defeats John Kerry in 2008, and this is the Senate map. First of all, I don't think that Arlen Specter would actually change parties and become a Democrat in this timeline, but Republicans would be very much endangered, including people who otherwise would be safe, like David Witter of Louisiana. I think John McCain's Senate seat would still be Republican as he would be president. And then let's take a look at the other ones. Retiring Kit Bond in Missouri, I actually think that one would flip. I think he would be in very big trouble. In Ohio, George Voinovich was retiring, so that one could definitely flip as well. I'm not really sure. But because the mood of the country would be quite against the president, in this case John McCain, I think Democrats would be able to pick off Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Ohio. New Hampshire, maybe. It depends what sort of strong opposition they had. Because, Jaheen Shaheen, she would probably not run because she ran 2 years ago. And otherwise, I think that John Thune would still win re-election. Russ Feingold would still win re-election. Chuck Grassley would still win re-election. A lot of things would be similar. Obama would still have his seat because he would not be elected president, so it would still be in the Senate and win re-election. And yeah, actually I think Florida would flip as well, because you had a quite unpopular incumbent and he retired, and then the governor appointed someone named George Lemieux, and he did not seek re-election. So this would be the state, and the Republicans would lose a lot of seats if they won the 2008 presidential elections. Now we go to 2014, when I have already made John Warner's seat in Virginia blue, because I believe he would still retire in 2008 as he was very old. I believe that this one would still go to Mark Warner. When it comes to Colorado and New Mexico, where Wayne Allard and Pete Dominici also would retire in 2008, I think that the Republicans would be able to hold on with nominees like Heather Wilson in New Mexico, and Colorado is a bit more difficult. Maybe Mike Kaufman, maybe Bob Schaffer, really depends. But none of these are easy holds. Since we're now in the 2014 midterms, that means John McCain is still president. He won re-election in 2012 somehow, and Republicans would be targeted. So Republicans have incumbents Elizabeth Dole in North Carolina, Norm Coleman in Minnesota, John Sununu in New Hampshire, and Gordon Smith in Oregon. And out of these, I think that the most endangered ones would be the moderates, those in Democratic states, and of course, still the same ones. Gordon Smith would probably lose re-election, I don't know to whom. New Hampshire still had a lot more Republican DNA. Norm Coleman was very close to winning in 2008, but he would retire because of he has undergone cancer treatment and has quite poor health. And then it is New Hampshire. New Hampshire is it's a hard one. I think that New Mexico would flip though. I don't think that Heather Wilson would have the same electability as Pete Dominici. Elizabeth Dole would probably retire, so that one would flip. And it's only a question really. Colorado I think would stay red, but it also is about the state of New Hampshire. Yeah, Mitch McConnell would hold on. I think New Hampshire would stay red, actually. Democrats would have to spread their money on many states, and I think that he would still win, but it would be narrow. Sorry, that was wrong. Yeah, also Susan Collins in Maine, of course, that one should be red from the beginning. But let's go on to the last midterm. It's now 2018, and Hillary Clinton is the president. Now, a few things we actually have to change, because in this timeline, of course, Republicans did not lose all of these seats in the 2006 midterms. They would still hold Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, probably, as well as Missouri. I think Rhode Island would flip in 2012, and yeah, that's it. Maine would also be, let's see, Maine would be held by independents, so we'll just put it a toss-up. But bad midterms for the Democrats, meaning that Republicans will make pickups. They pick up Florida, as in our timeline, probably still with someone like Rick Scott. Joe Manchin, would he be able to hold on? I think he would probably, actually, because he would be... Joe Manchin would be the same guy as he is now with the Biden administration. He would just be to wreak havoc for Hillary instead. So he would win re-election. In Indiana, I don't know if Richard Lugard, he would probably retire. I mean, he would be very old. So that one is red. In Ohio, Mike DeWine might still be there, or someone else. In Pennsylvania, Rick Santorum, if he won in 2012, which is hard to say, I think he would go red regardless. And knowing that so few people turned out for Hillary in the Rust Belt, I think that Michigan and Wisconsin would also flip, along with, of course, Missouri, that's sort of a self-set, and North Dakota and Montana. Now, assuming that Nevada and Arizona remained red after the 2012 election, which they did in our timeline, they would also be in the GOP column, and this would be the 2018 midterms. So I thought it was interesting for me to make some reversion today, pretty much. Now it is fair to say that this is of course pure speculation, and I have pretty much ignored the margin in much of these races. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.